Time to bring you the news on this channel. I am Umudu Gajaga and this is QTV News. Coming up tonight in our top stories. President Adama Barrow on Thursday embarked on another round of surprise visit to government institutions, which included the Gambia Petroleum Depot in Mandinering. It has been announced that a plan to introduce 7 national languages into the University of the Gambia's curriculum is nearing completion. The Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education has launched an online platform called I Learn Gambia, building on the lessons learned from last year's delivery of online courses. In business news, road tanker operators dealing in petroleum products have met with officials from the regulatory body PURA to discuss how to improve safety in the sector. In international news, a recently issued report looking at human rights in 196 countries during COVID finds many governments use the pandemic as an excuse to clamp down on or restrict people's rights. In sports news, the much anticipated and much delayed Afro basket competition will finally get underway in Kigali, Rwanda in mid-May, as AS Douane of Senegal will be among the 12 teams competing in the most prestigious tournament ever in Africa. Those were the main news headlines, and now the news in detail. Thank you for joining us. Welcome, this is QTV News. President Barrow on Thursday embarked on another round of surprise visit to government institutions, which took him to Gambia Petroleum Depot in Mandinering, Ministries of Higher Education, Interior and Works, respectively. Alusise reports.
This latest unannounced visit by the President to these government institutions is quite important, as it will avail him the opportunity to better understand what operates at these various workplaces. Also, as a leader, it will help him to identify what are some of the challenges confronting these institutions. It is quite important that as a president, you are not only seen sitting in your office, but going out in the field to know exactly what happens. And this is exactly what the president has embarked on today. The visit started at the Gambia Petroleum Field Storage Facility located in Mandinering in the western region, which consists of fuel tanks for heavy and light oils, gas, loading bays for tanker trucks, and offshore underwater pipelines. This was once a monopolized sector managed by non-Gambians. However, President Barrow said his government adopted a policy of having Gambians manage the facility. The Gambian leader recognizes the facility as important to the country's economy and security, hence the need to give much attention to it.
We want to build capacity here. We want this place to be protected. This is a huge business and it's managed by Gambians. Moving forward, we have to secure this place and protect it.
The president's next stop was at the Ministry of Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology, where he was received by Minister Badra Diop, who took him on a tour of the offices. The president was informed that progress had been made towards upgrading the Gambia Technical Training Institute into a University of Science and Engineering to enhance the development of students in the country in terms of skill development. Minister Badra Diop said efforts are on to transform the unused Maths and Science Academy in Kanilai, the former president's home village, into a College for Science, Engineering and Technology.
We want these things to start in September. And I promise the people of Kanilai that you will be there to inaugurate it when it is all set up. Because they said that they felt that they were neglected. I said no. When President Barrow took the mandate, he said he's president for the whole country. He does not see religion, he does not see tribe, he does not see regions. All he sees is the Gambia.
Also visited was the Ministry of Interior, where the president was received by Minister Yankuba Sonko before being taken round the offices. The president wrapped up his outing at the Ministry of Works, Transport and Infrastructure. This ministry is overseeing the implementation of major projects in rural Gambia and for the OIC Summit, such as the 22 kilometers Ting Corner Airport Junction dual roads and 20 other urban roads. Minister Bailami Diop foresees interruptions to traffic when work commences.
We have to divert a lot of traffic, and even for the battle hardened, we may have to construct half of the road at one time and then move to the other half, something like that, given the number of traffic that we have to deal with.
But for President Barrow, it is important to have good and adequate roads to manage the increasing traffic. He asked for work to be fast-tracked without sacrificing quality as the summit draws nearer.
And we are very ambitious. We want to move fast. We want the works to be 24 hours. That means 3 shifts. That means it will be 3 days for 1 day. Yes, that's what we want to do. Yes, yes.
So, as the president, are you really confident that the Gambia can host the next OIC summit?
I am very, very, very confident that we will host the OIC.
The president returned to Banjul satisfied with what he finds and promises government's commitment to addressing the challenges faced. Reporting for QTV News, I am Aliu Sise.
Now, a plan to introduce 7 national languages into the University of the Gambia's curriculum is nearing completion. On Thursday, National Languages Specialist validated syllabus for rollout to begin next semester. Lamin Choi reports.
For the first time in its history, the University of the Gambia will start teaching our national languages, scheduled to start in the next semester as part of general requirement of study. Language specialists are reviewing to validate the syllabuses that were developed for the study of 7 national languages, namely Fula, Jola, Mandinka, Manjago, Sarahule, Serer, and Wolof. The UTG's acting Deputy Vice Chancellor of Academics, Professor Per Gomez, who came up with the initiative, explains its significance.
Imagine having to teach Mandinka 101, Mandinka 102. The students now have the liberty. Either they choose French or Arabic or Spanish or Mandinka or Fula or so on. But the way we're operating, we're imposing these foreign languages and denying them the possibility of learning their own language. Now we give them that liberty, that freedom.
Like almost all African countries, the Gambia's education system has non-national languages that are taught in schools and used as a medium of instruction, a phenomenon that linguists describe as relics of colonialism and counterproductive. Side Jata, a linguistics specialist, is a resource person in the development of the syllabuses. In a view which some might consider controversial, Mr. Jata, who has been a long-time advocate of such an initiative, attributes students' inadequate mastery of the English language to the failure to understand national languages.
If any child had begun learning the mother tongue first before English, that child will never fail English. That's the trick, that's the scientific fact about teaching our languages. It is our language, it is our definition, it is our identity. It is a tool we must use to become what we want to become in the world. Without it, we can never be what we want. We'll be just aliens.
In an opening statement of the validation process, the Vice Chancellor of the University of the Gambia, Professor Fakhir Mohamed Anjum, recognizes the importance of study and understanding of our national languages to ensure equality and democratic participation of Gambians for national development. The Vice Chancellor also calls the effort to introduce national language studies into the UTG curriculum as a first step towards the rehabilitation of our languages and culture. Professor Gomez explains the other phase of this academic initiative, which aims for a comprehensive expansion of the study of national languages at the UTG.
In a very near future also, we want to start a new department of linguistics. That's where later on people will now write, their Gambians and non-Gambians can come to the university and learn these languages, studied at BA, Masters, and PhD level.
Although there have recently been experimental classes teaching national languages in some primary schools, the Gambia's education system has long operated an English language-only policy. And despite English being the language of instruction in most schools in the Gambia, general performance of students in the language has been poor in both national and international exams. These language specialists and the University of the Gambia believe that such a reality in our education system is not sustainable for national development. Mahmoud Lamin Choi, QTV News.
To minimize the effects of COVID-19 on the education sector, MOPSI introduced online TV, radio and classes for students. On Wednesday, the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education launched an online platform called iLearn Gambia. Jennifer Sonko attended the opening ceremony and she now reports.
iLearn Gambia seeks to digitalize the school curriculum to ensure access to equitable and quality education to all. The creation of this platform is a clear manifestation that the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education has learned from the adverse effects the coronavirus pandemic has had in the education sector. Deputy Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education, Adama Jimba-Job, elaborates.
You could remember when COVID came in, we were all taken by surprise. And it was a challenge for the sector because we were using radio and TV, but also there were some people that couldn't have access to this. And that motivated the team to think of coming with platforms that later both teachers, students, parents, and anybody who's interested in education can log into and download if you need to use it offline if you want.
Studies have shown that digital learning is far more interactive and memorable than textbooks or one-sided lectures. They offer a good context. Digital learning permits students to better connect with learning materials. The Minister for Basic and Secondary Education, Claudiana Cole, reiterates her ministry's commitment to the education of children.
The Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education is committed to providing equitable, inclusive, and quality education to all students in the Gambia, both in times of relative stability and in emergency situations like the COVID-19 pandemic.
For some reason, projects in Africa, which the Gambia is no exception, are hardly sustainable. We asked about how sustainable this project will be, considering internet connection issues and the high rate of poverty in the Gambia. DPS Adama Jimba-Job elaborates on that.
It's going to last long. The commitment, the dedication, the readiness to develop education, which is already, you can see that in the blood of the people at MOPSI. You know, if you were part of the program, you have learned about the process to come to where we are. There was a lot of sacrifice, a lot of commitment from people. And I think we wouldn't be that much, spending so much resources and time to develop something that we will not continue to use. So the issue of sustainability or continuous usage of the platform is not a problem as far as MOPS is concerned.
Ami Jaite, an English teacher who was part of the television and radio lessons initially introduced by MOPSI in response to the coronavirus pandemic, says the Island Gambia platform will make their work easy and more effective.
It will really help me a lot because it is tested and the result is already seen. When we were teaching online during the pandemic, we were really asked to go and teach the grade 9s and the 12 who were supposed to do exam. The time was very short, but we used that little time to teach the students as well as refer them to the lessons that we taught online. This has really helped to fast track and complete our syllabus.
One might wonder why students are not present in the launching when the initiative is for them. However, the ministry said they would conduct a nationwide tour to meet school children and introduce the project to them. Reporting for QTV News, I am Jenna Basonko.
From that story, we will take a short break, but still to come, we have some other stories for you, including sports news. Don't go away.
طوبى لمثلك حافظ القرآن طوبى لكم بمحبة الرحمن أكمل طريق الخير واصعد سلما يصدح شداك ببلغة وبيان.
Welcome back. If you're joining us from any part of the world, this is QTV News. Now we look at some more local news stories. The National Coordinating Organization for Farmers Association, the Gambia, NACOFAG, in collaboration with partners on Tuesday, held a forum to validate its 5-year strategy plan to guide its growth and ensure sustainability and maximum effectiveness of its members. Ajibintu Drame has the details.
The event brought together NACOFAG Federation members and stakeholders to share critique and review the draft document for eventual incorporation into the final strategic document. Musa Sow, NACOFAC's president, thanked their partners, adding that the strategy document will address the underlying abject poverty, productivity and the capacity of farmers.
Primary focus of the strategy is capacity development of its member associations. Ladies and gentlemen, this strategy plan helps us not to leave no association behind and to put women and youth in the center of our advocacy and policy influence.
Usman Toure, representative of the FAO country rep, hopes that with this strategic document will inspire a theory of change for national development.
Today, as we validate the 5 years NACOFAC strategic plan, let us address the logic of the proposed strategic directions of NACOFAC for the 5 years and proposed theory of change.
Falai C.K. Balde, head of the Institute of Social Research and Development, explains the significance of the strategy plan and made recommendation that farmers should improve themselves in support of achieving the national development goal.
It is telling NACOFAC that it's time for us to involve the private sector in development. It is time to do business as unusual. And that would mean, focusing resources and attention to the younger generation, and also have more attention paid to the plights of women, for them to stick together, work towards creating a union. It's only the Gambia and few other countries that are without farmers' union. In the past, we used to have the Gambia Cooperative Union. That used to be very instrumental in supporting farmers. We don't have it now because it's almost dormant.
Fatou Samba, the representative of NACOFAC's Women's College, explains her expectation for the plan's implementation.
It will address it one way or the other, because having the strategic plan will help us have a point of direction in terms of implementation, in terms of working with the farmers, especially the women farmers who are the major farmers of this country, and also helping us to be able to attract the donors in terms of food security, in terms of nutrition, and in terms of marketing, you name them.
This is the first ever 5-year strategy plan by NACOFAC and covers the years 2021 to 2025. This strategy plan document is important to farmers and for national development. However, it is left to be seen whether the final validation will be put into reality. Ajibintu Drame, QTV News.
As part of events marking the celebrations of the World Press Freedom Day, Jenna Bosonko, the founder of the newly established Mentorship program for young girls in the Gambia, distributed the updated Gambia Press Union Code of Conduct to 2 schools within the Kanifing Municipal Council. Loli M. Kamara reports.
The 2 schools that benefited are Sehmaska Senior Secondary School and Newsrep Senior Secondary School. According to Jenna Bosonko of QTV, founder of the Mentorship program, her motivation started a few months ago.
A few months back, I decided to start my own mentorship program where I get to mentor young girls, just, trying to build that sense of responsibility in them at a very early age. When I was their age, I had few people support me, so I feel like they deserve the same thing to be supported, to just bring about that sense of responsibility when it comes to journalism at a very early age. So we're just trying to catch them young in a way.
She further elaborated that distributing the code of conduct will help guide the school children who aspire to be journalists.
So the reason why I'm doing this is because I want these young girls, these school-going children in general, to get to know about the ethics of journalism at a very early age, to avoid journalists reporting without some sense of responsibility and all of that.
Songo calls for more support to continue with other projects. At Sehmaska Senior Secondary School, it was an interactive session with the school's press club, as Jenna Bosonko took time to highlight her experience, and students also took turns, giving their reasons for wanting to be a journalist. Mr. Sanyang, assistant coordinator of the press club, said the initiative is laudable and important as it has created another opportunity for the young aspirants to build that self-confidence.
If you look at it, most of them now, they are confident to go outside and also talk about journalism. Like when it comes to recommendation, I will say the time.
Rohi Sise, a member of the press club, thanked the founder for their mentorship, adding that the knowledge gained will go a long way towards helping them in their career path. Lamin Jahate, program manager of the Gambia Press Union, gave a presentation on the GPU Code of Conduct, and Jahate says an initiative such as this should be emulated.
It helps to give the young people a proper perspective of how journalists do their professional work. We live in an age where everyone is a journalist. Not just citizen journalists, but every Tom, Dick, and Harry is a journalist. With the advent of the social media, the internet, everyone shares news. And in the process, they violate the ethical principles. They violate everything that journalism stands for. So to these young people, this is what journalism is.
From Sheikh Maskar, the theme went to Nusrat Senior Secondary School to do a similar presentation of the Code of Conduct to the school's press club. For QTV News, Lolly M. Kamara.
Congratulations, colleague Jennifer Sanko. We've all been through mentorship. Now, the latest business news. Pura officials on Thursday organized a stakeholders forum for road tanker operators dealing in petroleum products to hear about the challenges they faced with the objective of improving safety standards. Ansumane Sonyasi has more.
Among the key issues highlighted during Thursday's highly interactive meeting were licensing requirements and mandatory safety guidelines, as well as existing testing and inspection regimes for road tanker drivers and vehicles transporting petroleum products. Citing the development of training and testing schemes, PIRA's Director of Petroleum, Water and Energy, Mahmoud Lamin Sompo Sise, highlights how PIRA, in collaboration with other partners, have been working on improving standards, adding that such a convergence with leading petroleum-related business establishments couldn't have been timelier, especially given the recent proliferation of petrol stations in the country.
The movement of petroleum products in and out of the different cities and neighborhoods is something that requires higher standards. So we are bringing the owners here to make sure they are familiar with the new standards, and also to give us feedback on the challenges they are having so we can improve the regulations.
Mohamed Haidara, a petroleum consultant for operations and safety in downstream operations, and Brahma Jame, PURA's Director of Economic Regulations, both underscored the importance of this forum and called on tanker operators to improve standards by adhering to mandatory guidelines. They also call on petroleum business owners to build the capacity of their staff, especially road tanker drivers.
Standards alone do not speak for themselves. They are very good on paper, and we are making efforts to train them. But it's also in their best interest to adapt the training and practicalize them in their daily activities, because the cargo they are transporting is a very dangerous cargo. Once there is an accident, the driver themselves are more vulnerable than the people.
One of the things I tell PIRA is to implement a safety regime, or training regime rather, and make sure it's continuous. You can't just do training 1 year and then you expect everybody to know what needs to be done. So training is important, and really that's where you start, but implementation is the key. So have the standards and make sure it is implemented across the board. And unfortunately, this is where we're failing in this industry.
Nicole Labidi Timper, a participant and also operations manager at Castle Oil Limited, commended PURA for creating what she described as an avenue for meaningful dialogue between stakeholders.
I think it's good that we can come together and share our ideas and conclusions, because I think sometimes there is many things that are unclear when it comes to either from, let's say, Pages or PURA, and it's difficult to clarify them as well. These are institutions that are very busy, so you can't call them all the time, and I think that transporters especially can come with some good points that maybe the authority has not thought about, or maybe a way to make the process of testing vehicles easier.
Thursday's meeting was also attended by representatives of the Transport Union, the Gambia Fire and Rescue Services, and the police, who all commended PURA for the initiative. However, they also raised concern with the issuance of driving licenses to unqualified drivers, lack of road traffic signs, construction of petrol stations in residential areas, non-enforcement of mandatory requirements and guidelines for road tankers drivers. Answane Sonyasi for QTV News.
Coming up next is sports news. The much-delayed Basketball Africa League is almost ready to start, and the groupings and the ball designed especially for the league have been unveiled. More in this report.
The inaugural Basketball Africa League BAL season was postponed from its March 2020 start due to the COVID-19 pandemic. It has now been announced that the inaugural season will start on May 16, 2021 and is scheduled to end a fortnight later on May 30th. The historic inaugural season will tip off at the Kigali Arena in Kigali, Rwanda, with 12 teams from across Africa competing in the new professional league. The BAL, a partnership between the International Basketball Federation (FIBA) and the National Basketball Association (NBA) of America. It seeks to build on the foundation of club competitions FIBA Regional Office Africa has organized in Africa and marks the NBA's first collaboration to operate a league outside of North America. Having already been affected by the coronavirus, the BAL says it will implement robust health and safety protocols for the 12 teams and personnel traveling to Rwanda based on guidance from the World Health Organization and the Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, with advice from public health officials and medical experts. On Friday, the BAL and Wilson Sporting Goods Company, Wilson, unveiled the official game ball that will be used for the BAL's historic inaugural season. The official BAL game ball was specially designed for the BAL and features the league's primary logo and social media handle at the BAL. The secondary league logo, a continent icon featuring Inspire, Empower, Elevate, are also displayed on the ball. Although not as popular on the continent as football, basketball is gaining in popularity and African fans are looking forward to the start of the league. Champions from the national leagues in Angola, Egypt, Morocco, Nigeria, Senegal, and Tunisia earned their participation in the inaugural season. The remaining 6 teams from Algeria, Cameroon, Madagascar, Mali, Mozambique, and Rwanda secured their participation through the BAL qualifying tournaments conducted by FIBA Regional Office Africa across the continent in late 2019. The first BAL finals will be held Sunday, May 30th. Ansumane Sonyasi for KTV News.
That's all we have for you in this edition of the news. Thank you very much for watching, and we do enjoy your company. Have a pleasant night. Bye.